Alright guys, we have made it to game week 3 of this championship season. We've got some very juicy matches coming up this weekend, and as always I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Make sure to go ahead and have your say. Do drop your score predictions down there. The first 2 game weeks of this championship season haven't disappointed. We've had tons of goals being scored so far. Hopefully the same continues into this weekend. As always, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like, but without any further ado, let's jump into these matches. Starting out on Friday night, we're going to Hillsborough for Sheffield Wednesday up against Leeds, and I'm really not sure where to go with this prediction. After the weekend we've just had, absolutely anything could happen in this fixture. We've obviously had Wednesday, who started the season like an absolute house on fire against Plymouth, but then they were the team that were being torn to pieces against Sunderland. Looked a little bit defensively vulnerable in that one, I think it's fair to say, especially from set-piece situations. That could be a bit of an issue for Danny Roll to iron out as the season goes on. But they're going up against the Leeds team, who haven't exactly been firing on all cylinders so far this season. 2 games for Daniel Farke's side in the league, 2 draws. They also had that quite disappointing defeat to Middlesbrough in the Cup as well. For Leeds, their 2 championship performances so far, the games they've been involved in were quite conflicting. There was obviously that really good and entertaining draw they had against Portsmouth on the opening day, a 3-3, but then the one against West Brom was a lot more tight, where there definitely weren't as many clear-cut chances at either end of the pitch. If I had to take a guess for this sort of match, I'd say it would probably be a little bit more tight. Wednesday will be desperate to bounce back from that Sunderland display over the weekend. And generally speaking, Danny Roll's men had a decent record at bouncing back to defeats last season. They didn't tend to lose that many matches in a row. I fancy Wednesday to be strong at Hillsborough this season as well. Leeds still getting their act together. I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends level. Score prediction, going to go for a 1-1 draw between those two to kick off the weekend. Next then we go to Ashton Gate for Bristol City up against Coventry. These 2 sides have already played each other this season in the EFL Cup earlier in the campaign. In that game it was Coventry who walked away with the triumph, beating Bristol City 1-0, but I think we'll get a few more goals in this game, certainly going off the evidence of last weekend. Bristol City involved in that bonkers 4-3 triumph against Millwall. Some great play going forward. Alright, they looked a little bit slack maybe defensively at times, but some great combinations. Sinclair Armstrong's fit into that side really well so far. Feli Mayulu scored a couple of really nice goals as well in his first 2 matches, and they'll definitely bring a threat in this one. With that being said, I thought Coventry looked really good against Oxford on Friday night, crafted out a lot of chances for themselves in that one. Hadji Wright and Van Evak being real standout performers for Cov in that game. This one screams a 2-1 either way, or maybe a 2-2 draw. Score prediction for me, going to go for a 2-2 draw as the Saturday early kickoff. I do reckon we could get a few goals in that one. As the second early kickoff on Saturday, we've got Hull City going up against Millwall. I really need to stop predicting Millwall to have tight, low-scoring matches, because their first 2 games of the season have been anything but that. They're yet to pick up any points this season, but I'm sure their fans have been thoroughly entertained with what they've seen so far. Millwall have carried a real goal threat in both of their opening fixtures, but defensive vulnerabilities is what has really let them down so far. This will be an interesting clash of styles though, because they're going up against a Hull side who very much still feel like a work in progress. In the final third right now, they're not a team that are creating chance after chance. It's 2 games, 2 draws for Hull up until this point. In both matches, they have come from behind to level them out, so I wouldn't be surprised if Millwall do take the lead in this one. Just feels like it's in Millwall's DNA at the moment to score a couple of goals and then shoot themselves in the foot at the other end of the pitch. Score prediction here, I'll follow along with that trend, why not? I'm going to go 3-2 Hull, and we'll say we're in for another entertaining early kickoff. And then the last of the early kickoffs on Saturday, we've got sees QPR going up against Plymouth. Both sides only have 1 point on the board after their first 2 matches, so a decent opportunity here for either side to get their first win of the season. QPR fought their way back into that game against Sheffield United quite well last weekend. Some positive new debutants in that one as well. Saito and Dembele both providing an assist as QPR levelled that one up against Sheffield United at 2-2. Going up against the Plymouth side, who did look much improved last weekend against Hull compared to their opening day performance against Sheffield Wednesday. Do fear for Plymouth a little bit that they could fall into the same trap of being competitive in those home matches, and just falling apart away from home. That was certainly the case last season in a lot of performances. With all that being said, I do reckon this one will be pretty tight. As a score prediction, I think I'm just edging it to QPR here. I'm going to go 1-0 QPR. I don't reckon there'll be all too much in it though. After that and into the Saturday 3 PM kickoffs, we've got Blackburn going up against Oxford. Really positive start to the season for Blackburn, considering there was quite a bit of doom and gloom around that club coming into this new campaign. 4 points from their first 2 matches with 6 goals scored in those 2 matches certainly is nothing to be sniffed at. And I have a feeling Blackburn fans are in for another quite entertaining game here. Oxford have really brought that entertainment factor in their opening 2 matches. Brilliant performance against Norwich on the opening day and gave a really good account of themselves against Coventry, I thought. Had it not been for that Will Vaulks mistake late on, would have snatched a point from that game, which I thought would have been a really positive result for them. I see a few goals being scored in this game. I reckon both sides do get on the score sheet. Obviously, Blackburn no longer have that threat of Sammy Smodics, but have a feeling the goals may be a little bit more shared out throughout that squad this season. Despite not having that talisman, it feels like they still have an adequate amount of quality in the final third, especially going off their first 2 performances of the season. Score prediction in this one, I think I'm just going to give the edge to Blackburn here. I'm going to go 2-1 Rovers in that game, but another one where I could see Oxford snatching a point. After that, we head to the Riverside for Middlesbrough up against Portsmouth. Considering Portsmouth's start to the season on paper was looking really tricky, I'm sure John Mousinho will be more than happy with 2 points from their opening 2 matches. Doesn't get much easier for them in this one, going up against a Borough side who, at home especially this season, I think will take a lot of points off people. Obviously, they got the job done on the first day of the season against Swansea. The Derby one was just really frustrating to watch as a neutral. Obviously, Isaiah Jones makes that mistake which lets Derby in, and then Middlesbrough have more than enough chances to get back into that one, but nothing just seemed to be falling for them in that game. Sort of game here where Middlesbrough probably will have the majority of the ball, they'll have more chances than Portsmouth. It's just a question of whether or not they can be clinical enough to take those chances, and if Portsmouth can take advantage of some counter-attacks like they were able to against Leeds. I reckon Borough just about bounce back in this one though. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 1-0 Borough in that one, I think. Next then to Carrow Road for Norwich up against Sheffield United. Definitely the Blades who have had the better start to this season. They got 4 points on the board right now compared to Norwich who have only got the 1. Much improved performance from Norwich over the weekend against Blackburn, albeit you've still got those defensive vulnerabilities in there, which a team like Sheffield United, the players they've got in the final third, can definitely look to take advantage of. But I'd like to think that this will be a pretty entertaining game with chances at either end of the pitch, obviously. Sheff United over the weekend got themselves into a really good position against QPR, scoring 2 early goals. Maybe got a little bit complacent in that second half. That's going to be something that Wilder has to drill out of them as soon as possible. I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends level, but I think I'm just giving the edge at the moment, on evidence of everything that I've seen from these 2 sides, probably to Sheffield United. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Blades in that game. After that, to Deepdale for Preston up against Luton Town. I'm hopeful there'll be a bit more positivity around Deepdale coming into this one. The atmosphere will be a little bit better. Obviously, Preston entering a new era now, but we really could do with a result in this one. But to be honest, looking at this game as a whole, both sides could really do with a result in this game. Preston, one of the 3 sides yet to pick up a point this season, but Luton still searching for their first win of the season. It's a loss and a draw for Rob Edwards' men so far. Boost for North End coming into this one as well is the fact that Thomas Kaminski will be suspended after he was sent off in Luton's last game against Portsmouth. I know Luton haven't looked amazing in the final third so far, but they've got players that can strike fear into Championship defences, and just thinking about how leaky that North End back line has been so far this season, Luton will get chances in this game. I just hope it's not a case of if Luton do score first, North End players and their heads drop, because that's certainly been the case in recent matches. The first goal here feels absolutely huge. If Preston score first, I think the crowd will really rally behind the team and hopefully we could hold on for it. But if Luton score first, I still fear for us. Score prediction in this one, Going with my head, I think Luton win this one. I'm going 2-0 Luton in that game, but hopefully I'm proven wrong. After that, we go to Stoke up against West Brom. A decent start to the season for the Baggies, all things considered. Considering some of the players they had lost on the eve of coming into this season, 4 points from 2 matches against QPR away and Leeds at home. I think every West Brom fan would absolutely take that before a ball had been kicked. Going up against Stoke, who had been quite conflicting in their opening 2 performances. Really good display on the opening day of the season to nullify a really good Coventry side, but then they were really opened up by Watford in that second half and ultimately lost 3-0 in their second game of the season. I look at both squads right now. I do think West Brom have more goals in them, but if Stoke can pull off a similar sort of tactical plan that they managed on the first game of the season against Coventry, maybe they could nullify the Baggies here. But on the balance of probabilities, I think I'd just edge West Brom in that one. Score prediction for me, I'm going to go 2-1 West Brom in that game. Next then we go to the Stadium of Light for Sunderland up against Burnley, and what a game this could be. 2 sides who have had flawless starts to the season up until this point, each having 6 points on the board after 2 matches. Both been scoring a bucket full of goals. Sunderland obviously put 4 goals past Wednesday on Sunday. Burnley put 5 goals past Cardiff on Saturday. So I'm hopeful we'll get a decent game between the two of them in this one. Now, Burnley so far have been scoring at a freakishly efficient rate, whereby they've had 10 shots on target so far this season and they've scored 9 goals, which is absolutely ridiculous. It still feels like Scott Parker's men. I mean, they definitely haven't hit peak performance levels or anything like that, but the opening 2 results have been really positive. He's got so much quality to work with, especially in the final third. And just to get a gauge of that Burnley squad and how strong it is, you look at their bench and you think the majority of Burnley bench players would probably be the first name on the team sheet for a lot of other Championship clubs. Sunderland will know the task at hand here though, and I think they'll be up for the fight. They were really good against Sheffield Wednesday. I was even a bit concerned for them going into that game when it was confirmed that Alan Brown was out of that one, but they cope with his absence in midfield really well. They've got goal scorers all over the pitch, probably quite similar to Burnley. I've got a feeling a few goals will be scored in this one, and I'm going to go for an entertaining 2-2 draw. Why not? Next then we go to Watford up against Derby, and I think it would probably be fair to say that Watford have been the surprise package of this season so far. Bit of doom and gloom coming into this season for Watford, but 2 games, 2 wins. Kayembe's been in prolific form. They've scored a bunch of goals, looked good over the weekend against Stoke, and they'll probably fancy their chances against Derby in this one. I think there's a very good chance that Watford make it 3 wins from 3. It was a big result, to be fair, for Derby over the weekend against Middlesbrough. Quite crucial that they bounced back from that disappointing opening day against Blackburn with not just a win, but a win and a clean sheet. Albeit in that game, they probably did have to ride their luck at points of that one. I think home form will be really important for Derby this season. But away from home against a Watford side who have been in good goal-scoring form so far this season, I think Watford probably take it in this one. Score prediction for me personally, I'm going to go 2-0 Watford in that game, which would be a flawless start to the season for them. And then to finish off the weekend, on Sunday, we've got the South Wales Derby. It's Swansea going up against Cardiff. I'm really looking forward to reading some of your predictions for this one in the comments down below. There wasn't a whole lot to separate these two sides last season. Cardiff won the home fixture against Swansea, and Swansea won the reverse fixture against Cardiff. I do think on the evidence of what we've seen from both sides so far this season, and especially with Swansea having home advantage, they are the obvious favourites coming into this game. I was really quite impressed with them against Preston, albeit North End made it quite easy for them at times with giving away a penalty and some lackadaisical defending, but played it well through the thirds, and it almost feels like Swansea are a little bit more set in how they want to play compared to Cardiff, who have been a little bit more expansive this season, or at least they're trying to be in their opening few matches. Cardiff trying to dominate the ball a little bit more, get on it and create chances. That's going to take time to sort of get that new playing style bedded into this group of players. Cardiff obviously coming off the back of a 5-0 loss against Burnley. That scoreline probably reflects quite harshly on Cardiff. Obviously it was an awful goalkeeping mistake to give Burnley the lead, and then they did concede some absolute worldies. But I do think on the evidence of what we've seen from both sides so far this season, it's Swansea who I'm giving the edge to in this game. Score prediction for me personally, Going to go 2-0 Swansea in that game. Sorry, Cardiff fans. But those are all the matches we've got coming up in the Championship this weekend. As always, I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Lots of juicy matches to get our teeth sunk into. I'm looking forward to seeing how they all unfold. Apart from that though, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.